This is other state champ Alex Thompson. This is Josh Elwer from the University of Northern Iowa, and you're listening to Potentially Dangerous on IA Wrestle.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IA Wrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Wrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show. Welcome back to Potentially Dangerous. I'm your host, Tony Hager. Tonight, episode 94 with the controversial tweeter, the Snapchat guy, all the works, all Instagram. Pat Downey right now is all the buzz on social media, and we're bringing him in. You can either love him, hate him. Heck, I even bashed him for saying his account got hacked, but there's a reason why I have Pat Downey on tonight. It's not the story about him leaving Iowa State, not because of all the social media, BS or whatever you want to call it, recent beefs with MMA guys. The reality is Pat Downey is a potential game changer for a college team. And we don't know where he's at. He's talks at Iowa, Rutgers, even staying at Iowa State, Penn State, all these different places. But we're here to try to get to the bottom of it. Pat Downey, welcome to the show.
Hey man, thanks for having me. Like the opportunity.
So you're in Baltimore. You're in Baltimore. Is that your grandma behind there watching, or?
Yeah, it is. Come on, sit next to Pop. If you stay there, you're gonna be on the video. You gotta move. Yeah, man. But I'm home with the grandparents right now. It's great to be home. I don't get this opportunity a lot.
Well, so training for the U.S. Open, right? Everyone says you got kicked off the team, not on campus. This is one of the pinnacle of our sport besides the Olympic, getting ready for, qualifying through the U.S. Open, the World Team Trials. What have you been doing to get prepared for it, and where?
Well, yeah, man. I actually found out through Iowa Wrestling on Twitter that I wasn't going to be on the team a week before the conference title. Right before Big 12s. You and your guys dropped the story that I was off the team. So as soon as I found that out, I kind of, had it out with the staff and left town that same week. So, while Big 12s and stuff were happening, I was on a farm in Scandinavia, Wisconsin, in the middle of nowhere, training with Ben Provisor. He's been my best friend for years. And, when you guys dropped that story and it hit media, everybody and anybody couldn't wait to turn their back on me and kind of kick me when I was down. Obviously it hurt me a lot not having my crack at the NCAA title and not getting to do what I said I was going to do against Dean and other guys. So, that was one of the lowest lows for me. So, it certainly would have been easy to just, kind of pack my bags up and go home or something. But, Ben came and they actually picked me up. My Honda Civic blew up. When it rains, it pours. Everything bad that could have happened was happening. And Ben and I just, got together and did what we love to do, wrestle. And that was it. I was there on the farm, waking up, running 4 or 5 miles, eating healthy, training all day, doing hard work, manual labor, picking up rocks, tilling yards and farming and just nitty-gritty work, man, and then hand fighting with Provisor, getting a different type of feel. Because, as you said, I was getting ready for the Open. With not having NCAAs, that's the next big event. And then Provisor's got his World Team Trials. So even though I'm a freestyler, he's a Greco guy, we both believe that wrestling is wrestling. And, if you see our results, we complement each other when we train. I don't think Provisor's been taken down since we trained together. So, I'm cracking the highest I've ever been in the senior circuit. So under those tough conditions, we proved that us working together is still very good for the sport.
So you just said that you found out that you were kicked off the team from our website, Breaking News. So you had, I mean, was this a conversation that was happening behind closed doors and it just wasn't finalized, or how does that even happen? I mean, were you blindsided by it, or did you have an idea that the staff wasn't happy with you?
Oh, I mean, it was known. I mean, it was known that I was going through some, a rough time with the coaching staff. They wanted me wrestling, and I had a broken rib, and I didn't want to be wrestling. So I wanted to heal up for the conference title, Big 12 and NCAA. I wanted to give myself the best chance of winning in March. And, the year before, I had no problem wrestling injured, and I came in, and I didn't get the results I wanted in March. So I wasn't pleased with finishing fifth, and I wanted to win it. So I was just doing what was best for my career to win it, and call it what you want. But yeah, I got blindsided by the move. I mean, I didn't, and I found out on Twitter. So I mean, that's why that reaction on Twitter was the way it was. I mean, I got blindsided, man, and I might never agree with that or come to grips with some of those people there, but you gotta move on from that.
So all this goes down, and Ben Verbiser sounds like he's a guy that you've been by your side before. He picks you up and he takes you away from it all, and now you're kind of back in the thick of things and on social media, quite a bit. I mean, you're basically documenting your whole life through it and letting people know how you feel. You've called out some people leading up to U.S. Open. When you do that and you're preparing, is this something that gives you confidence, or where does that come from for you? Have you always been like that, or is it just a way for you to relieve some stress of everyday life and what you're kind of going through right now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say it comes from confidence. I was raised that way. You believe in yourself and my ability. I was trained at a young age by my father. And, I'm confident in my abilities, and I don't find a problem in saying what you're going to do and then trying to do what you said you're going to do. I don't see why anybody else has a problem with it either. I don't know what to say. Am I supposed to say I can't wait to lose to this guy coming up? I just don't know what other mentality to have about the sport. We're combative athletes. It's one-on-one. I believe I'm going to beat whoever my opponent is. I hope my opponent believes he's going to beat me. Because if he doesn't, he shouldn't be training this hard to do it. Because we work way too hard not to believe in ourselves when it comes time to do what we're trained to do.
So you think other people really kind of have this same mentality, guys like you and Ramos and
everybody believes in themselves, man. Yes.
Yeah, but you are, the difference between them and you maybe is you're just being more vocal about it and letting people know about it. Is that the real Pat Downey, or are you putting on this villain or building, trying to build up this persona at all?
No, I say, it's another thing. I'm not going to say it online, and if I'm not comfortable to say it to you, I see these guys at weigh-ins and say the same thing to them. I mean, it's not a big deal. Like, they know I believe I'm going to beat them, and as they should, because, we're in a very cutthroat sport. And Burrow said it best: to make my dream come true, I have to kill his. What did he say to the whole weight class, to the whole world when he said that statement? But he doesn't get bashed, Guys say things like that all the time, and they might word it differently. They might say it as something a little rephrased differently, but for better or worse, they're saying I'm here to win this weight class, and nobody else seems to bash them for their belief in themselves. But I have a strong belief in myself, and I'm labeled as a villain and a criminal. So I just don't see what other people are even saying.
Well, going forward here, so you've when all this happened at Iowa State and obviously all the social media, you put out lots of different schools. You put out letters that you've received. Do you have a list of schools that you feel like you are going to give you the best opportunity to achieve your goals? What are those schools?
Yeah, I have a few schools on my radar. Obviously, you keep saying leave Iowa State, and I mean to correct you. I haven't left Iowa State. Like when I got kicked off from Nebraska's wrestling team, I left the college to transfer to Iowa Central. You know, I'm still enrolled at Iowa State. So right now I'm at Iowa State. I'm a college student. So with that being said, I guess that's still my top choice because, you know, Iowa State's the only place that I can have a full college season at. And that in itself is something I've never had in D1 wrestling. So I think me with a full college season under my belt gets trying to wrestle into shape and be the best version of me when it matters. So just putting that out there, I mean, I'm still a student at Iowa State, but as you said, I've been released. You know, I have options. You know, Iowa, I would like to consider them. I would like to consider Rutgers. Some smaller school like Kent State has showed interest. You know, those are just another few that are on my radar. But I haven't taken any other visits or gone anything past just creating my own little type of set schools.
Yeah, I don't want to put words in your mouth, I guess, but the way I understand, you're asking for your release, so I just assume that you're leaving. But
well, I've been released from the athletic department, no longer on, you know, scholarship, and I'm able to be contacted by other schools. But from a student standpoint, I'm still academically enrolled.
The plan though is right now to wrestle at Iowa State. Nothing's been set in stone. You're going to school right now. I mean, because we've talked a little bit about what you have to do, you know, to compete next year. You've talked to Coach Dresser, on my understanding. But in order to, if you did want to, like, if it wasn't going to work out at Iowa State, or with Coach Dresser, and you decide you want to go somewhere else that they believe in you, what do you have to do in order to get out of Iowa State and compete? Because you can't compete a full season. You have to wait for the second semester, right? What has to entail for you in order to get that done?
It's a lot like my first actual semester of D1 wrestling at 20, my All-American. I had to complete my associate's degree from Iowa Central because I was under the D1, the JUCO back to D1 transfer rules. So after I finished those 24 credits, I was able to become D1 eligible at Iowa State. You know, thus me moving in the second semester, becoming All-American. So I'm under the same stipulations with the NCAA that I had to complete a degree to get in there, and I have to complete my bachelor's to get out of there if I want to transfer and use another year of eligibility. And the second semester, I mean, if I was able to finish my bachelor's this summer, I'd be eligible any school next fall semester. But it's just not possible. It'll take next semester before I finish my bachelor's.
Well, so if I'm just going to give you a scenario here. With your background, kind of what's been going on social media, you got 2 minutes to sell yourself to any coach out there, that they say, you say, hey, you should have Pat Downey on your team. I'm going to be a national champ. And what's a 2-minute spiel to a potential coach for you?
Yeah, I mean, the words are cheap. The talk, it is cheap. At the end of the day, all the Twitter words, all the fingers on Twitter, and all the, whatever you're talking, it is cheap. So, just give me a shot, I guess. Let my actions do my speaking. You know what I mean? I was qualified for the World Team Trials without wrestling 6 months. I mean, give me a training scenario, and I'll win you a national title. I got one shot left for the NCAA title, and I'm going to be an NCAA champ. So that's my thought process going into the thing. It's my last chance to do it. So whatever the tightrope, I'm not walking on. Put me on the line, and I walk the tightrope to make it happen. I'll conform to the stipulations. It's my last shot at the thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's here's a stipulation for you. I mean, I'm not a D1 coach. I don't know what the hell they're gonna ask you to do. But let's just say you're Iowa or Penn State, and they say, Pat Downey, we obviously could use you. You're a potential national champ, almost a lock for an All-American status, but you have to get rid of your social media until you're done at our college. Is that something that you would be willing to do to make it happen?
Yeah, you asking the guy to bite the bullet on that one, but that's what I'm saying, man. I'm in a situation where I almost have to put the pride and ego aside, and if I represent myself so wrongly that a corporation above me, an entity that exists over my head, is scared to touch me because of the way I represent myself, thus representing their program, if I put myself at risk, then I can't wrestle in my title. Then the social media is now the enemy. So, yeah, that would have to be removed if that was a stipulation, because I'm willing to do anything to become an NCAA champion this year.
Yeah, have you thought about that being a reason why maybe a school might not take a risk on you because of social media or anything? I mean, talent's one thing, but people nowadays, schools are looking at how these kids are interacting on social media with everybody. Really, I mean, has it ever concerned you?
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago, Chris Pendleton was recruiting me to Arizona State, and he saw me tweeting after midnight and said he would stop recruiting me. So, I mean, I know that it's affected me for the worst in some scenarios. I'm aware of that, but like you said, it's my image, and it's my own personal little brand, if you will. So on the flip side of that, I had 10 MMA contracts waiting to be signed the day I got released from Iowa State. I had like a bunch of managements and sponsorships, and when one door closes in the little Twitter virtual media world, I'm having 100 more open. So there's a lot of pros and cons to it. I'm just trying to figure out how to navigate it properly. So,
well, you've been navigating your way through, college, OTC. I mean, you've been a lot of places, a lot of different faces, a lot of different situations that you've been put in. Sometimes bad, sometimes good. I guess can you look back and your JUCO days and Iowa State, and I guess what have you taken away from these times of highs and lows to today's world? What does it, I guess, teach you just about? Let's just wrestling. Wrestling. What have you learned from transitioning to these different divisions?
Yeah, I mean, navigating myself through the wrestling world. 6 years away from home out in the Midwest between the OTC, Nebraska, a couple years in Iowa, and, Wisconsin now. So, I mean, it's just a journey, man. I was raised not to quit. I don't know how to quit. You know what I mean? I'm not going to, just because one dude wants to write me off. I mean, Coach Manning wanted to not let me wrestle again. He wanted to send me out to Rico Chipperelli and go fight. You know what I mean? I was 16 and 17 and almost didn't get through the clearinghouse or ever make it into D1 wrestling. And could have started fighting when I was younger. I mean, I'm the type of person that, if you haven't seen already, that when I put my mind to something, I'm pretty adamant about my goals. So if you haven't seen yet, I have clear wrestling goals. So I'm going to keep navigating and showing up at the tournament, whether I have the sponsorships and the push and the training environment or not. I'm going to show up at anytime, anywhere, under any conditions. And, you might have excuses and justifications of why you lose, but at the end of the day, I can look at myself in the mirror and say I laid it all on the line. I tried my hardest. So, that's kind of the legacy and brand I want to be remembered as. That's how I want to be there.
Looking at, I guess, the weight classes next year, if you are competing first semester, second semester, weight-wise, where are you planning on being at wherever you decide to be at?
So, we talking about the weight change for college?
Yeah, your college weight.
Okay. You're talking about college weight. It's 84 and 97. Yeah, man. I believe I can win it at either of those weights. It depends on which weight, wherever I end up wrestling, once we go. I'm not going to be in a situation like I was coming in at Iowa State, where I'm training all year for 184, and then boom, bumped up at the last minute for the conference tournament at 97 just because it's better for the coach, and 84 pounders already being a qualifier. So whatever weight I wrestle, I just have to know it ahead of time so I can train for the weight. Right now I'm walking around at 200, 205. 84 is not a problem to make. But if I get told I'm wrestling 97, I might get up to 225 this summer, and I'm no longer an 84 pounder. So, I got to know, and I just don't know yet.
Well, I mean, just for you looking at the weight classes and who's in those weight classes, is there one that, is there a guy at 84 that you really want to get your hands on that you couldn't get your hands on, or at 97? I mean, is there a preferred weight class, just looking at the other guys that could potentially be?
To me, I see the two main guys at each weight. In my opinion, you got Nickel, who didn't show up to the World Trials, so I thought I was going to have first round. So, who knows how that match would have went. But I would like to kind of rectify that loss, if you will, from the Open. You know, I didn't feel like I had the best conditions going into that match, and I feel like it was not how the real match will go between us if we wrestle in the next year for the title or whenever we wrestle. But Nichols definitely the guy to beat. I mean, he's the returning champ, you know, at 84. And then at 97, I don't know who's really there. You got Boyd Haught, the Ohio State boy, and then I don't really recognize too many other names at that weight. So, I mean, but that's not what it's about, you know. It's about being the best version of yourself.
Do you, when you think of yourself as a wrestler, you've got some freestyle, you know, the freestyle accolades, All-American. I mean, do you feel like you're a better folk styler than freestyler? Where do you prefer your style to be at?
You know, I would say my style is more tailored for freestyle. I see some holes in my game in folk style still. I'm not even at the level. I don't even wrestle how I vision myself wrestling yet in folk style. So I have to get a lot better in folk style from my perspective. But in freestyle, if I'm in shape and healthy, I foresee me able to make teams in freestyle. And you know, I think I can have the highest level of accomplishment in folk style too. I think I can win the NCAA title. But I just think I like freestyle more too. I think it's a higher level of battling, and I think there's more intricacies in the positions and the scenarios and just the general encounters of freestyle, like the savviness you have to use. It's almost more of a chess match. I feel like folk style is a little more wild and sloppy wrestling and all the back exposure and no real control, and it's harder for me to kind of relate to. Freestyle is all about world-class position, and I really like that aspect of the freestyle.
Kind of what I was getting with this is that important for you going to what, you know, if you're staying at Iowa State, Iowa, Rutgers, Penn State, is it important for you to be at a place where you know that you can continue to train, you know, at an RTC? I mean, is that a discussion that you've had with some of these coaches that you've been thinking about, you know, going to?
Yeah, because I only have 1 year left. That's the main discussion. That, you know, I mean, I'm thinking world titles and Olympic team. You know, I mean, I'm planning on wrestling this last cycle. So to accomplish my goals, I gotta put myself in the best environment, and that's, you know, who can offer me high level wrestling day in and day out. You know, meaning training partners, and then who's willing to, you know, give me the high level mat time in competition. You gotta go to these tournaments, you gotta go to these events and see these guys, and you know, I gotta be in a situation where I can thrive and do that.
So you're basically, you get put in the right position, the right situation. When it comes to, you know, beating guys like David Taylor, you know, Cox, these type of guys. I mean, is it all about the situation that you're in, the environment, or you know, what is it? Do you feel like you need or to get better at to be able to beat these type of guys?
Right. I mean, you got guys like Cox and Taylor that are better than me right now, and it's because I'm not having that time to get into wrestling shape to where I can, you know, do what I need to do. If you see me at the trials, you know, I don't pull the trigger on my shot once. I'm not really in wrestling. I'm kind of out there holding position in and hand fighting and surviving almost, if you will. I need to get into real wrestling shape, and you do that by wrestling. You know, I was in a great situation on the farm. I did everything I could to overcompensate for not having actual freestyle training partners and being in an environment with wrestlers. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to be able to close the gap on a guy like Taylor, who's top 5 in the world, or Cox, who's, you know, I mean, it's not like making a team in another country or in another sport. You make our team, you're ready to be a world champ, a world medalist. I mean, we're good at wrestling. You know, I'm pretty good at it too, but to be the best in the country, you know, I got to change some things up, obviously.
So I wanted to got a lot of people commenting here on Facebook. We're on Facebook Live. If you're listening to this podcast, we've been talking to Pat Downey, All-American, maybe an MMA guy. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But at Pat Downey, love him, hate him, whatever. I think he's good for the sport. I'm not going to be shy of it. I mean, when he came out and said that he was going to beat these guys, I was a doubter, and
I remember you laughing at me when I said I was beating Dave Dean.
No, I don't think it was that. Something about your Twitter account, your Twitter account getting hacked, and
that was it, hacked.
So yes, but here's the reality is
that one. I learned that trick from him.
But I wanted to get some people on here with some Q&As, Pat. Just asking you some random questions here, and I'll start one off with a one up your sleeve here. I guess. Who's your favorite rascal?
Favorite rascal?
You know the Rascals?
Yeah, Little Rascals, definitely Alfalfa, right? Or Petey with the pickle.
All right. So Petey or Alfalfa. All right. So another question here. Let's see if I can find that one again. Here's one that's a big topic right now that you've been kind of in a beef with. How many years of wrestling before you transitioned fully into MMA? Are you planning on making that Olympic team first, or are you going to maybe transition into MMA in the meantime? What's your next step here?
Well, see, I've been transitioning like that MMA to wrestling. I'm still trying to learn into a wrestler. So once I learn how to wrestle, then I can go back to fighting.
What was that again? You said you have been training MMA, or you haven't?
Yeah, I've been training MMA since I was 5 years old. But once I'm done learning how to wrestle properly, I'll be able to go back to that. But I have to become the best wrestler first. I have that goal. I still won't, knock the dude out here or there if they want to fight. I can still take fights, but I'm not going to start fighting, completely focus on fighting until after I accomplish my wrestling goals.
So you would take an MMA fight, with you training full-time wrestling. You would take a fight if you had the opportunity?
Oh yeah, I'm always trained and ready to fight.
All right, here's another question. The beef with Gadsden, Deron Wynn, Cormier. I mean, how did this all come about? Because when I asked you to be on the show, this shit wasn't going down, and this has just kind of happened. So I mean, how did this all get brought up? I mean, was this something that you brought on yourself, or they?
I can tell you. I can show you great screenshots. Gadsden and I planned it out. Me and him are boys. We probably talked for over an hour at the trials. I mean, we're great training partners together. We're friends. His dad helped me a lot when I was going through stuff. Rest in peace to the late Willie Gadsden. The utmost respect for Kyvan. So, let's just put that out there so everybody does know that him and I, that's friendly. Him and I are buddies. So, it might look like we're firing shots at each other, and apparently Deron thought we were because he decided to chime in on it. And I just thought it was real funny and odd of him, something negative and hatred, condescending to say. So I just, said something back to him how I felt, and I feel the same way. And then before you know it, Daniel Cormier's tweeting at me, and I didn't have a problem with him. So he tweeted at me and made a problem with me. So now obviously I have a problem with him too. So I mean, it started with Kyvan, it escalated to Deron when he started trolling me, and then it ended with Cormier setting up the fight. And like you said, like I just said, I'm ready to go.
What are as an actual fight has been presented to you? I mean, are there details for it, or where are you guys at in that conversation?
Well, I told Deron that we have a problem when I see him, so him and I have a fight, whether they want to set it up or not. When I see Deron, we're going to fight. And I mean, if we can be cool afterwards if he wants to be, and if he doesn't want to be, we can fight again. But that's just what it is. Now, Cormier, as far as setting it up and the logistics and the management and who's running the show, I don't know about all that. He started direct messaging me saying they want to fight with boxing gloves and headgear and shin guards, and that sounds like training to me. I don't fight like that. We can either fight with the UFC rules under the 6-ounce gloves at middleweight, because that's the weight class I fight at, or we can, fight in the alley or the park.
All right. Here's the next question for you. Dream scenario. Who's sitting in Pat's corner? Who would you want to be mentored by if you could have your choice? Whether it's a current coach, past coach, who would you want to have in your corner?
These two men right there.
Those two guys? That's it.
Sure.
Fighting or wrestling?
What's that?
Fighting or wrestling? You want them in your corner?
I want them there for everything. Provisor, he's another real one that'll go to battles with me.
What's your talk been with Ben Provisor since the trials? Have you talked to him just about kind of what the next step is for you? Has he mentored you on that front?
Oh yeah, Ben's somebody I look up to and have respect for. You have to earn my respect, and Ben and I have been best buddies for 5-6 years now, and after the trials we kind of reflected on the training cycle. I might have gotten a little too big, ran my legs out, didn't get enough in that time. We reflected on not sticking to parts of my plan with changing my wrestling stance from always wrestling like a boxer. Having to break these bad habits of left leg lead, jabbing with my left arm as I'm throwing hands out there on the mat, and guys are disappearing underneath of me because I'm fighting. I'm wrestling like I'm fighting. So I'm still in the process of breaking some of these habits, and when I get tired and get into the match, you see these old bad habits come out. So definitely from a coaching standpoint, Ben and I are the wrestling minds. We're always picking the sport apart, analyzing it. So that's a whole other part of the game that people don't see when I'm trying to make the jump on these guys. You know what I mean? And calling somebody out, saying I can beat them. Well, I think that because I watch them and I dissected the sport, and I think my art is better than his. So Ben and I view the sport differently, and in talking about it, plan's the same, man. We both know what our goal is, and we both know the capabilities here.
Well, I want to. I appreciate you coming on. I know that this was a podcast I wanted you to be on prior to all this beef with MMA guys, and that wasn't what this was going to be about. But this is what's going on right now. But it sounds like the main focus is go schooling here and going to Iowa State. Your plan right now is to Iowa State, but you're open to other places. You said Iowa, Rutgers, Penn State. Was there any ones that I missed there?
No, Penn, not Penn. Kent.
Kent. Okay, so Kent State.
Yeah.
Okay. So Penn State, that's one I didn't hear.
You're out here. Can't beat them, join them. No, I'm going to take
Okay. So, so I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything, give you kind of the open floor here of just what you'd like to say either to your fans or haters, whatever. I mean, you got the floor.
Oh, no, man. Nothing. If you, if you love me, I love you. If you hate me.
Well, I appreciate that. And everybody that, is watching the show live here. We're with Pat Downey again tonight. You're listening on the podcast. We're here every single Monday night here on Facebook Live. Maybe we're going to try to get a new guy on the podcast. This has been fun to kind of get a perspective of Pat Downey.
On, see if he's going to be stop scared of fighting.
Who?
Get Deron. Ask Deron if he's going to stop punking out of our fight.
Well, we'll see if we can get Deron on here to talk. Maybe turn this into an MMA podcast. We'll see. But so Mondays, 8 o'clock, right here on Facebook.com/IEWrestle. You can follow me on Twitter at Hager Tony, at the Pat Downey. You can find him. If you don't follow him by now, it's been a fun show. And it's definitely a show that's not going to be over anytime soon, I'd have to say. So Pat Downey, again, thanks. Thanks for everybody listening. This has been IEWrestle, Potentially Dangerous, episode 94. Thanks for listening.
Know when the whistle go.